In this video, we will cover all the essential Git concepts you need. We'll do that in a beginner-friendly way without having to go through a lengthy 10-part series. Now the first question is, do you really need to learn Git? And the answer is absolutely. You will need to use it regardless of the programming language that you'll work with. So let me show you how it works. I created a sample VS Code project named test. And I will create two files, test1.js and test2.js. It doesn't have to be JavaScript, it can be HTML, CSS, or anything else. Now, if I were to make some changes to test2, like adding a console log, save it, and then after some time I would choose to delete it by clicking delete, and then move to trash, and then also empty the bin, I would not be able to retrieve the file and use it again. And this is where Git comes into play, because Git works exactly like a time machine for your code changes, or like a game saving system. When you're progressing through a video game, you don't want to start from the beginning when you reopen your game. You want to continue where you left off, or maybe you want to jump between saved games, and that's exactly how Git works. But before that, let's make sure you have Git installed. If you're using a Mac or a Linux system, you already have it installed. But if you're using Windows, you have to download it first. So let's head over to Google Chrome and do Git download. Click on the first link, select Windows, and download the 64-bit Git for Windows setup. You will need to install it, and then you will be ready to go. Now let's head over to our VS Code editor, and let's try to understand some basic Git commands. The first one is git init, which will initialize the project. You can see initialized empty Git repository in the path of our project. That means Git will now track all the changes that happen in this test project. We can then run git status to see all the changes that it tracks. I have a dstore file which is only specific to my Mac, so don't worry about that. And I have the test1.js file. Now you can observe that these files are untracked, meaning Git knows about them, but they are not marked as files that need to be saved. And in order to mark them for that, we need to add them by using git add and the name of the file, in this case, test1.js. Now, if we run git status again, you will see changes to be committed, new file, test1.js. Let's add a new file, test2.js, and let's run git status again so that you understand the process. You will see that test2 is untracked. And how do we add it? By using git add test2.js. That means these files are marked for saving. And to actually save what we have, we need to do git commit. Git commit -m, which stands for message, and then we place our message. Initialize or first commit. Okay, now if we run git status again, so let's just ignore the dstore file. We don't have any other changes or untracked files. And that's because we have saved our progress and Git knows what changes were made from the last save. If you want to see the history of all your commits, you just have to run git log. And you will see the author, the date, and the message of the commits. So if we were to add a new file, test3.js, add everything, and then commit, second commit, and then run git log, you will see the history of all the commits, second commit and first commit. Now let's do a quick recap. So we initialized our project using git init. This is just a command that you run once so that the system knows you are using Git for this specific folder. Then the second command was git add. And you just need to type the file name like test1.js or whatever file you have, or just type git add period if you want to add all the files. Now to actually save your progress, you need to type git commit -m, and the message that you want to type, like added test2.js or something like that. And to see the history of all your commits, you just need to type git log. Now everything we talked about up until this point is only on your local computer, so nobody can see your code, nobody can contribute to your code base, and if you lose your laptop, you will not be able to retrieve the files, although you have Git. And for that, you also need to store your project in the cloud using a service like GitHub or Bitbucket. You're probably familiar with GitHub, so let's just go to GitHub. You need to create an account and then just create a new repository. Let's give it a test name and then make it private or public, doesn't matter, and then create a repository. And you will see some commands that we've already done. You need to write git init to initialize the project. They also added a README file, which is only filled with some dummy text. They created a commit, which means they saved the README file. And then they created a main branch. We will see in a moment what branches are, but just know that the main branch is the default branch that we are working on. Maybe you saw that when we ran git status, we had on branch main as a message. Okay, and this is the command that we are interested in. Git remote add origin and link to our repository. So let's just run that. And that means that origin now points to the remote repository that we have. Good. And now if you want to upload your local changes to the remote repository, you need to run a command called git push. So git push origin main. And now if we refresh the page, you will see the main branch having all the files that we had on our local computer. Now let's see what branches are. Imagine you're working on a big project and you need to add a new feature to it. You don't want to mess up with the code that's already working, so you create a copy of the code that you can work on without affecting the main code base. This copy is called a branch. And to create a branch, you just need to run git checkout -b and the name of the branch. In this case, let's call it feature map view or something. Let's say you are developing a map view. Now, if we were to make some changes to this branch, like creating another file, test4.js, let's add a console log, something, let's do a git status, add the file, and then let's do a git status again, just so you see that this is a change that needs to be committed. Create a new commit, branch commit, and then git push origin feature map view. And now if we go to GitHub and refresh this, you will see that we have two branches now. We have the main branch and we have the feature branch. The feature branch has 3 commits and the main branch only has 2 commits. But they both have the same root. So if we go to the project and run a git log, you will see that the head, which is the reference to our current commit, points to this commit on this branch, feature map view. But the root for this branch is the main branch. There are 2 more commands that you need to know about. Git pull is a command that allows you to update your local repository with the changes made in the remote repository. So let's say that you have a colleague that is working on the same project and he made some changes on the main branch. What you want to do is to just call git pull while being on the main branch. By the way, if you want to change branches, you can just run git checkout and the name of the branch. In this case, I want to change back to the main branch. Switch to branch main. So you want to run git pull, and Git will download any changes made to the remote repository and apply them to your local repository. Now, of course, we don't have any of that right now, but it's something that you should know. And the other command is git merge. And git merge is a command that allows you to combine changes from one branch into another. In our case, if we want to get the changes from the feature branch and apply them to the main branch, let's say after we know that the map view works all right, we made some unit tests for that, and we want to apply the changes to the main branch, we just have to execute a git merge. So let's try that using git merge, feature, map view. Make sure you're on the main branch and execute git merge and the feature branch. And you will see that we now have test4.js, which a second ago was only on the feature branch. There is one more thing I want you to do if you finish this video. I created a free bonus section that showcases everything we discussed here using a visualization tool. It will help you understand every step, and you will also find a free PDF with all the commands that we talked about in this video. You can find the link in the video description. And if you like the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. See you in the next one.